Hello, I'm Sergeant Michael Webb, Commander of the Kentucky State Police Public Affairs Branch. Welcome to our next KSP-Tv episode. For this episode, we're going to be meeting the new Commissioner, Rick Sanders, and the Deputy Commissioner, Alex Payne. Thanks for being with us today, sir.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
Well, sir, tell us a little bit about the person of Rick Sanders.
Well, Rick Sanders is a lifelong cop. I have been a police officer for over 40 years, and it comes naturally for me. I am a fourth generation law enforcement officer, and starting with my grandfather back in Edmonson County as a deputy. My father's a retired police officer. I've been in law enforcement my whole life, and both my children are in law enforcement. My oldest son's a DEA agent. My youngest son's a Louisville Metro police officer. So law enforcement is not something that I didn't take seriously. I knew when I was a child that's what I wanted to do in life, and I've been fortunate to have a great career with several different agencies doing the mission that I love.
Absolutely, sir. So tell us what you like to do in your spare time. What do you do in your free time?
Well, I'm an aviator. I like to fly both helicopters and airplanes. I flew professionally for DEA for a number of years and flew for the Jefferson County Police Department. And I'm really looking forward to going to London next week to fly the marijuana ERAD mission. I'm ready to get back in that helicopter.
Yeah, I bet. So on April the 1st of this year, you were appointed as Commissioner of the State Police by Governor Bevin. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what that means to you?
Well, it was quite an honor to meet the governor and tell him what I thought I could do for the Kentucky State Police. I had never met him before and had never spoken to him. And I think it's important for people to know that I'm not a politician. I'm a cop. And I had the fortune to meet with him and tell him what I would like to do for the Kentucky State Police. And that's important, that what I want to do for the State Police. I don't want to do it for me. I want to do what I can to help the men and women of the State Police. And that's not just the men and women in gray. That's our lab personnel, our dispatchers, our clerks, our civilians, CVE. I really want to do what I can to help all of those people to make their job better.
So tell us how you started your law enforcement career.
Well, I started as a young police cadet with Jefferson County. And then when I was barely 21 years old, I went to the police academy in Louisville, and I was a beat cop, a homicide detective, a helicopter pilot, a narcotics investigator. Spent about 10 years with Jefferson County PD and got my degrees from U of L, and then was able to fulfill a lifelong dream to become a federal agent. I remember as a kid growing up watching The Untouchables and Elliot Ness, and I always wanted to be a G-man. So I was able, in my career with DEA, to actually run the Chicago Field Division for 5 years. So I became that G-man in Chicago, so that was quite an honor. And then retired from DEA after a great career and was able to become chief in Jeffersontown. I did that for 9 years before joining the State Police. And coming to the State Police is just what an honor, such a prestigious organization. I'm looking forward to leading this organization and working with the men and women of the Kentucky State Police. I recently returned from DC, the memorial services, and wow, the Kentucky State Police just stands out. Our honor guard, our men and women in uniform, you could tell a difference. And I've been a member of a lot of different agencies, and I'm just so proud to be a part of the Kentucky State Police.
Well, we know that you spent 24 years with the DEA, and you mentioned the Chicago field office and some other assignments, but we know that you were able to get up to headquarters in Washington, D.C., and you've had a lot of other assignments in DEA. Why don't you tell us about some of those other things?
Well, I worked in Miami for 6 years in the 80s when that was a real hotbed for drug activity. Then I went to Texas. I was in Dallas for a couple of years as an aviation supervisor. Back to Louisville as the agent in charge of the Louisville office for 5.5 years. Then my first assignment in DC. I went to Chicago, as I said, for 5 years as the agent in charge there, and wow, that was a very fulfilling job. We had a lot of work up there dealing with the Mexican cartels, bringing the drugs into Chicago. Wow. And then my last assignment was as assistant director of DEA. I was over operational support throughout the world.
Wow. Well, as troopers and detectives of the state police, we're pretty good investigators naturally. And
yeah.
We did our homework, and a lot of the guys had talked to some of the folks down at J-Town, and we've heard a lot of good things about you, and we know that J-Town was a top-notch local law enforcement agency. Tell us about your time at J-Town.
Well, it was a great 9 years. Alex Payne and I left the Jeffersontown Police Department in great hands, and also a very professional department. I like to brag on J-Town. It was a first-class police department in a second-class city. And we left a great police department. The men and women there are very professional, and I have no doubt that they'll continue with that professionalism after our departure.
So what 2 words would you pick to best describe the person of Rick Sanders?
Well, I think the 2 words that come to mind are passion and compassion. I have great passion for law enforcement. It's all I've ever wanted to do, and I'm just thankful that I can continue to contribute. But I'm also a very compassionate person when it comes to our community. You know, we're here to protect and serve, and I really buy into that. I think that's true. And what we did in Jeffersontown right before I left, I was very proud of. I've been putting cartel members in prison my whole life, and I think we should continue hammering those people that are bringing that poison into this country. But we have to have compassion for those people that are addicted to these drugs and try to help them before they ever get into the criminal justice system. While I was chief in J-Town, I lost some family members of my officers that died of drug overdoses. So that's something I'm very passionate about. I know that the heroin problem in our state and the opioid addiction is tremendous, and I want to do what I can to try and make a difference there, and trying to stop the scourge upon our state.
Okay, sir, so you've had a very long career in law enforcement. Is there any one particular moment that sticks out in your mind?
Yeah, that's easy to answer. On September 11th of '01, I was assigned to DEA headquarters in Arlington, Virginia. Our office is directly across the street from the Pentagon. And I was up in the director's office, like everybody else in America, watching CNN News. We watched a second plane hit the World Trade Center. And as I was standing there, my back was to a big picture window overlooking the Pentagon, when an agent said to me, "Rick, look at that." And I looked out the window, and I saw coming from the west the American Airlines 757 that penetrated the west side of the Pentagon. It probably hit 300 yards in front of me. It rocked our building, shook our building, and that was a very surreal moment for me. I saw the world in a different light. Our country was under attack, but our country came together and showed the patriotism I don't think I've ever seen before. I saw men and women of federal, state, local law enforcement, fire departments, all these people come together for a common good, and that was to try and go in and rescue those that we could at the Pentagon. But more importantly, patriotism became important, and I saw this country come together and try to do what we could to try to combat the terrorism that we're still seeing today. So that's a day I'll never forget. Seeing that plane penetrate the Pentagon was a moment in time that sticks out in my mind. I'll never forget that.
Wow, sir, what an incredible story. So let's switch gears. On the opposite end of the spectrum, what's the funniest thing that's ever happened to you in your law enforcement career?
Well, that's a good question, and I can answer that in many different ways. But one that sticks out is I was a young narcotics detective in Louisville, and I was working undercover at the time, and my assignment that day was to go in and meet a dentist. This dentist was handing out scripts to drug addicts in exchange for cocaine. And my role was to go in and exchange cocaine for a prescription for a number of different drugs. So the bus signal was going to be, I wish my friends could see this. So as I walk in, and I'm wired up, and I see this football, Notre Dame football, signed by all these become professional football players. And I'm talking to the informant that was with me. I said, "Man, I wish my buddies could see this." And I thought, "Oh no, what have I done?" And then I hear the front door kicked open, and they come running in the hallway, and I'm looking at this dentist, and I'm looking at my partner, Gary, going, I haven't done it yet. So he comes in, and he just tells this dentist, he kind of pats him on the cheek and says, "Doc, we're watching you, don't forget." And they turned around and walked out. We went ahead and consummated the deal. Then I said, "I wish my buddies could see this." And then they kicked the door open again and came running in. And so they all were smacking me around saying, "Boy, we're going to change the bus signal. From now on, the bus signal's albatross around my neck." They didn't want me screwing up again. So that was one that I remember. But as I said, I've had a great career. I've had a lot of fun times. A lot of serious things have happened in my life. But I've enjoyed this job immensely. And just the fact that I can continue working with such a prestigious organization. Wow, what an honor for me to be here.
Yes, sir. We obviously have very serious jobs and very serious careers, but it is nice to have those funny moments that we can reflect on from time to time. Okay, sir. So our next question is, what has been the biggest learning curve for you here at KSP? I know you've had a lot of things to take in a short amount of time.
Well, I think the big transition, the difficult thing for me has been just learning the people. We have a big organization. I had a big responsibility at DEA and didn't know everybody, but I'd been there for over 20 years and knew a lot of them. So here at the State Police, what I'm trying to do is get out to meet as many people as I can from east to west. And the other thing is, I'm used to city policing. I've been a city cop my whole life, and the state police is different. You know, where I come from, you make a run and you're going to have backup there within just a few minutes. You might have 3 or 4 officers assisting you on that run. And I tell you what, I feel I have so much concern for our troopers out there that might be covering a 3-county area by themselves. So what I want to do as commissioner is I want to do what I can to convince the legislators and the citizens of this community. I want to brag on our department from east to west, and I want them to know that we're understaffed. We're authorized 1,070 troopers. We're down to 860. We're authorized 160 CVE officers. We're down to about 113. You know, we're woefully understaffed. So I want to make sure that I go over and lobby the legislators to get us additional people for many different reasons, for safety mostly, to serve the public as we should. And I want to cut down on these fatal accidents we're seeing. You know, when you're a trooper covering 3 counties and you're trying to go over to back your partner, you know, you've got to drive fast to get there, and I just want to slow our troopers down a little bit and give them the manpower they need so that they don't have to run from county to county trying to do this difficult mission. So that's one of the goals I have. The other is to try to improve the equipment that we're using. I'm appalled that we're driving cars with 200,000 miles on them. Again, that's a safety issue. When we're running from one county to the other, often at a high rate of speed, we need to have the best equipment made, or we can get our hands on, and give us the people necessary to do our mission. So that's probably my goal. And I guess in closing, Mike, what I want to say is, look, I'm not here to build a resume. I've done that, okay? I'm here to do what I can to help the men and women of the state police. I think it's a tremendous organization, and I just want to do what I can to get them the tools and the salaries that they earned.
Outstanding, sir. Well, it sounds like you kind of laid out your mission there for the state police. If you had any specific message that you would like to relay to any of the folks in the field, what would that be? Well,
I'm gonna reiterate. I think that, you know, I'm honored to be here, and I'm honored that I was able to bring Alex Payne along with me. Alex is, I call him my Trooper R. He retired from the state police, and now he's back as not only my deputy but my partner. I want to spend a lot of time over at the Capitol, convincing those men and women what a great job, what a great service we provide, and try to get the men and women of the Kentucky State Police the tools and the salaries that they deserve.
Well, sir, we really appreciate you joining us here today. There are folks all across the state fulfilling all different types of jobs, everything from driver testing to folks in the lab to obviously our CVE officers and our troopers in the field. And this interview with them will give them an opportunity to realize who the person Rick Sanders is and your vision for the agency. So we really appreciate you being with us today.
I appreciate that, and I hope to get out and meet each and every member of this department. And it's a vast undertaking, but I'm going to make every effort to do that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being with us today.
The Kentucky State Police has always taken the commitment to stay connected to the public seriously, and this has led to many innovations over the years. Now, a major stride has been made with the unveiling of the Kentucky State Police mobile app. Stay in the know with real-time notification of traffic alerts, highway blockages, and emergency situations based on your phone's location. This app provides an all-inclusive source of information for everything from driver's manuals to most wanted criminals, missing persons, and even the location of sex offenders in your area, as well as events and employment opportunities. You can even report offenses directly to KSP via your phone's text message camera or audio recording device. Instant and anonymous. An important reminder, this app does not replace 911 and should not be used in cases of emergencies. The app is free and available through the App Store and Google Play. Download it now. Search KS Police.